Welcome to New Horizons in Chinese philosophy. This is Lecture 7. In this lecture and the next, we will discuss Daoism. In last lecture, we say Moism was a competing school of thought with Confucianism in the time when they were both prevalent. Unfortunately, Moism did not last long. It faded away in China after the early Han period. The place was given to Daoism as counterpart of Confucianism. To some extent, the fabric of China's culture is composed of Confucianism and Daoism. When we discussed Confucianism and Moism, we saw that they focus on different things in understanding normative order. Confucius emphasized the ritual structure and moral education, while Mozi stressed theological norm and moral psychology. Despite their different focus, they both concentrate on human intentional plan to form a good order. In contrast to both Confucianism and Moism, Daoism highlights non-purposive and non-calculative aspects of human understanding of reality. Laozi and Zhuangzi are central representatives of Daoism. This lecture is to address Laozi. Next lecture is the discussion of Zhuangzi. The first problem to discuss is Laozi's ineffable Dao. Laozi is a controversial figure, but the book of Laozi is definitive in setting up a Daoist outlook. The book is also titled as the classic of the Dao and its power. The central notion is Dao. As we discussed in previous lectures, Confucius takes Dao as totality of states of affairs. It does not only contain ritual structure, but also contain process of ritualization. Confucius also gave us a demo to show how Dao could be realized in family. Laozi agrees with Confucius that Dao is totality of states of affairs, but he does not believe that we can give any theoretical account of Dao. He thinks that Dao works somehow in the world independent from our conceptual grasp. Dao is ineffable. Ineffable Dao cannot be differentiated because it is by definition beyond all differentiation. But the truth about this has to be conveyed by the use of human language. This is, of course, a paradox. In order to attain some understanding of Dao, we have to talk about it in a roundabout way. The ways in which Dao is to be shown have a lot to do with cultural heritage and historical situation. So, when we read the book of Laozi, we will see that the orientations of the culture remain fully operative. We will see a lot of metaphors used in the book. Laozi is deeply committed to Dao, but this he cannot express explicitly. He just tries to call our attention to the topic of Dao. Quote, "I know not its name, so I style it the Dao. If forced to name it, I would call it the Great." Unquote. When Laozi uses the term Dao to refer to the world of determinate being, as opposed to the world of the 10,000 things. He seems to mean something like encompassing order. Unlike Confucius and Mozi, Tao as encompassing order always evades our grasp. Laozi does not emphasize the order part of Tao. Rather, he stresses the encompassing part of Tao, that is, the totality of the normative world. In the very first passage of the book, we see the statement, quote, "The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth," unquote. This is not a chronological relation, but a formal relation, or a logical relation. Tao, as totality of state affairs, is prior to anything in the world in a logical sense. Laozi elsewhere says, quote, "I know not whose son it is. It seems that it precedes the high God," unquote. From this, we see that Tao is even prior to the high God. The high God is the theological part of the world, and the Tao is totality of that world. As an absolute totality of the world, Tao is inaccessible to us by any means. Especially, Tao is inaccessible to human language. Confucius deeply believes in language as providing an image of true order. Mozi gropes towards the notion of a new, improved language which will provide a new and more precise picture of the world in all its particularistic aspects. Laozi does not seem to cast doubt on the language which describes the natural order, although he does indeed cast doubt on the received language descriptive of the human order. However, Laozi claims that the way in which the determinate Tao is made possible lies beyond all language. Quote, "The Tao of which one can speak is not the eternal Tao. The names which one can name are not the eternal name." However, we have to speak about the unspeakable. In the book, we have the following passages. Quote, "Born before heaven and earth, silent and void, it stands alone and does not change. Pervading all things, it does not grow weary," unquote. Another quote, "Gaze on it, there is nothing to see. It is called the invisible. Listen to it, there is nothing to hear. It is called the inaudible. Grasp it, you cannot hold it. It is called the ungraspable. It is called the form of the formless, the image of the imageless," unquote. Quote again, "The Tao gives birth to them and nourishes them. It brings them up and nurses them. It brings them to fruition and maturity, feeds and shelters them. It gives them life, yet does not claim possession," unquote. Another quote, "The Tao is broad, reaching left and right. The 10,000 things depend on it for life. Yet it does not desert them. It accomplishes its task, yet claims no merit. It clothes and nourishes the 10,000 things and does not claim to be the master. Forever without desire, one can call it small. The 10,000 things return to it, and yet it lays no claim to being their Lord. End quote. Quote again. Heaven, in virtue of the One, possesses clarity. Earth, in virtue of the One, is stable. The gods, in virtue of the One, are numinous. End quote. Another quote. You cannot keep it close. You cannot keep it far off. You cannot benefit it, nor can you name it. You cannot ennoble it or debase it. End quote. So we see Tao seems to be most formal part of the world. It is the form of the formless, but it is also most concrete part of the world. It is the image of the imageless. Although Tao is ungraspable, it is rule-governed. Quote, the law of the Tao is its being what it is. Unquote. The Chinese character 自然 in this context is not to be translated as nature. It means the state of being oneself or self-being. This reminds us of Kant's notion of noumena, that is, things themselves. The noumenal realm is not an intellectual realm. Rather, it is a normative realm, providing normative principles for intellectual act. So, Tao dwells in the normative realm. Tao works to provide norms for cosmic order and human order. Among the norms provided by Tao is the norm that governs the working mechanism of human language. That explains why Tao is ineffable. Tao is unspeakable because the way Tao is spoken is governed by Tao. What is conveyed in the above passages is not description or characterization of Tao. They are indications to initiate an act of understanding Tao. When we read those messages, we will come up with a sense of Tao, just like the sense of the first-person pronoun I. Its sense shows up in the very use of it in an utterance. The sense of I lies in the way in which the use of I takes effect in a speech community. Similarly, Tao works to bring about a normative order in a certain realm. Laozi's Tao is a metaphysical notion. It is used to account for the working principle of the world as a whole. The world is divided into two parts, the world of non-being and the world of being. The world of being derives from the world of non-being. In the book of Laozi, we see the statement, quote, the nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The nameable is the mother of the 10,000 things. The world of non-being corresponds to Kant's noumenal world. The world of being is a world of the determinate, the world of individuated, and the world of the related. It is Kant's phenomenal world. According to Kant, the noumenal world provides norms to govern what is going on in the phenomenal world. So, Tao is the source of both cosmic order and human order. To be more specific, what Tao provides is the explanatory source of cosmic order and human order. Understanding Tao would enable us to grasp the process through which world order is derived, To understand something means to know what it is. However, we cannot get what Tao is, since Tao is beyond our conceptual grasp. We can make our effort to inquire into the world and figure out how the world works. That we are capable of deriving world order shows that we already have some understanding of Tao. So, understanding Tao does not necessarily mean to know what Tao is. It is Laozi's concern to get clear what it is to understand Tao. Tao is not something that can be studied in a scientific way. Tao is what makes our world work as it does and what makes us who we are. We are empowered to do what we are to do. In this sense, what does it mean to say that we act? There does not seem to be anything substantial to say about what we do. Laozi takes non-action as essential form of our life rather than action. Non-action is most vividly illustrated with the use of the metaphor of the mother or feminine in general. Quote, "The spirit of the valley never dies. This is called the mysterious female. The gateway of the mysterious female is called the root of heaven and earth. It continues on as if ever present, and in its use, it is inexhaustible." End quote. The symbol of the valley seems to be related to the sexual and generative role of the female. The nature of the valley is determined by its empty space and its passive receptivity to all that flows into it. It gives birth to heaven and earth. Although the female role in sex is ostensibly passive, the female conquers the male by stillness. In stillness, she occupies the lower position. It is the female who plays the leading role in the pre-creative process. She acts by not acting in both the sex act and in generation. This is a process of generation and growth, by which the empty gives rise to the full. The quiet gives rise to the active, and the one gives rise to the many. So, the female is the epitome of non-action. In Laozi's view, the non-human cosmos and the natural aspects of human life operate in this non-action fashion. Non-action aspect of world is the manifestation of the Tao.